This kale and avocado salad recipe is one of my personal favourites, and I know, taking into account those people that I've shared it with over the years, it's many other people's favourite too. This recipe was actually first shown to me, or one very similar to it, by Chad Sarno, who's also known as the Raw Food Chef, and he's gone on to cater personally for Woody Harrelson and be co-creator of Saf Restaurant in London. So he's a world famous raw food chef, and I have to say, the first time he ever served this to me, I really was quite sceptical, because he said he was going to make me lunch, and obviously I got really excited because there's this world famous raw food chef making me lunch, and when I asked him what he was going to make, he said kale and avocado salad, at which point I got a bit kind of like, uh-oh, because kale is not one of those ingredients that many of us get too excited about. However, when he brought through the salad, I was absolutely blown away by how delicious it was, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So this is an adaptation of the recipe that Chad shared with me. This is my own personal favourite. So I'm going to talk you through the ingredients first of all, so you know exactly what you need to have to hand to make this. So first of all, of course, we have our kale, and you can use other greens as well. If you don't like kale, collards work quite well too, but kale obviously is just perfect for this particular recipe. And then we have baby plum tomatoes. So tomatoes are a really important part of this recipe, but if you don't like tomatoes or allergic to them, then red bell pepper is a good replacement. You could even grate carrot if either of those other ones don't suit you. Then we have avocado. It's really important to make sure, of course, you've got the right avocado, so we'll be talking about that in a second. Then we have some spring onions, which are optional. And if you don't have spring onions to hand, you can use normal onion, just chop that up finely. And then here in our small dishes, we have some Himalayan crystal salt. You can use Celtic sea salt if you don't have that one to hand. We have lemon juice, which is really important actually, and I'll go more into that at the end. And then we have some olive oil, okay? And the olive oil is also very important, and just a quick word about that, most commercial olive oils are in fact highly heat treated. So you want to go for one that's extra virgin, cold pressed, and hopefully beyond. Because surprisingly, cold press doesn't literally mean that it's below cooking temperature. So just go for the best that you can possibly get, and then that's as good as you can do. So to start off with, we're going to take our kale here, and it's really important, actually, this is the most important thing that you can do of all, is to chop the kale up finely, because that's the secret to this recipe. You don't want big leaves in there, or even woody stems. So you want to get it into pieces that are, say, 1 centimetre cubed, just so that it's a nice small chunk there, and it will in fact get smaller as we go through. So I'm just going to be doing a small amount of kale just to kind of show you the idea, but you'd be doing more if you're making a meal for yourself at home. Now you might be wondering, well, why would I make this recipe, Karen? And well, there's many great reasons, but honestly, sometimes people get fed up with conventional salad. They don't want lettuce anymore, not even spinach. And this is just one of those great alternatives that, in fact, some people end up making more often than the usual salad once they've tried it, because they can taste the goodness in it. And if you didn't know already, the darker the green, the more nutrition. So this is absolutely going to be more beneficial to you and your body than the normal lettuce, because lettuce is obviously quite a pale green, and this is clearly very dark green. So you're going to be getting more nutrition. But also when it comes to winter, or when the colder months, obviously salad just doesn't seem to cut it at times like that, and this is actually quite a warming salad, and you actually feel like you've eaten something that's really good for you, but also something that feels good in the winter months. So this is definitely one to have an experiment with at times like those, and I'm sure you'll find, like me, that it becomes one of those classic staples of your raw diet. So there's our kale, and as you can see, it's finely chopped here. Doesn't take long, but it is important that you do that. The next step is to take a little bit of salt, okay? You're just going to sprinkle that on, and the salt is proportional to the amount of kale you have. So just a tiny bit, really comparatively. Then we're going to just add a tiny bit of oil as well. Okay. Now, why do we do this? Well, this is where the magic happens, because what we had before was just plain old kale, which was quite fibrous and quite rough. Now what we're going to do here is massage the oil and the salt into the kale, and what this does, it actually helps break down the outer cell walls of the kale and enables the moisture inherent in the kale to come out the outside of the leaves, making it a lot more pliable and it actually ends up looking like it's being steamed. So I'm going to show you this in a second. We're nearly done. But the other thing that you'll notice is that it shrinks down as well, just like it would if it was being cooked. So, alright, it's a little bit messy, but it's definitely worth it. So, that's what we have now. Okay, very different to before. It's shiny from the oil, but also, yes, it's smaller and it looks very different. It's a lot more succulent. And actually, it's really quite nice just as it is right now. But we're not going to leave it there. We're going to add in our other ingredients now. So that's where we come to the avocado. So place that aside. When it comes to choosing an avocado, you want to make sure that you've got one that's just perfect. So in case you didn't know how to select a great avocado, I'll just share a couple of quick tips with you. The first thing is you need to make sure it's not rock hard. So you need to just kind of place your thumb in, and if it gives a little, then it's going to be good. If it gives too much, chances are it might be brown inside and going bad. The only true way to find out, of course, is to cut through and see what we have inside. And what we should have, of course, is just one that's really nice and green throughout, which is indeed what we have, so that's great. Another great way to know once you have opened it up, apart from the appearance, is if the stone comes out easily. So you should be able to just do this with the stone, it should just pull out, and that's another great sign that it's ripe. Now, you've got two choices here. You can either be nice and aesthetically pleasing and cut it up into slices, or you can be like me and just squeeze it in to save some time, which is another good sign when it comes out as easily as this. And you know, it's a messy meal anyway, so you may as well just stick your hands into the avocado as well. Alright, so next step is to massage the avocado in. Alright, now some people prefer to just cube it up and leave the cubes kind of floating in the kale, but I actually like the kale leaves to be coated. So that's what I'm doing here, and you might want to leave some bigger chunks as well, like I'm doing, because it's just kind of makes for a much better mouthfeel as well. So that's stage 2, and I'll show you how we're looking now. Okay, alright. So next step is to add in the additional ingredients, and in this case we're going to be using the tomatoes and the onion. Okay. And same thing, you want to be thinking about the size of the kale, so you want to cut the pieces that go into the kale small as well, so it keeps the kind of balance in terms of size. And at this juncture also, feel free to add any other ingredients as well. Olives work well in this. And if you wanted to make a curry salad, you can certainly add in some curry powder to the avocado or whatever it is that you wish to do. I mean, as usual, you're only limited by your imagination, so this is just like a fundamental recipe that works every time. And honestly, I've lost count of the number of people that have tried this and just adored it. So if you're feeling sceptical, you're just going to have to trust me that this is a truly delicious recipe. Alright, so we're nearly done with our tomato. Alright, and there we have it. Just going to mix it in. It's looking good now. I'm just going to add in now some spring onions just quickly before we finish up. Right, same thing, give it a good old mix. It's looking really nice now. And then the final touch is the lemon juice, and that is so important. In the instances where I've forgotten to add the lemon juice, I've always felt like there's something missing, the salad wasn't quite as good. So by placing some lemon juice on top, you kind of help preserve the avocado a little bit, but it also really brings out the flavours of the rest of the ingredients. So yeah, this is obviously just a small helping, and it is actually quite filling, but this is what we end up with, and it is truly, truly delicious.